Hey music lovers, Sara J here. Looking for an inclusive space where you can connect with fellow fans, deep dive into your favorite music, and be a part of something special? Well, look no further. Join us on Patreon, where music and community come together. Get exclusive content, behind the scenes access, and a place to geek out over the artists you love, plus explore music you haven't heard yet. Come hang out with us. Patreon.com/DATC Media Company. That's patreon.com/DATC Media Company. See you there. A member of the DATC Media family. Hey everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for this week of Dropped Among This Crowd. I'm your host, Sara J, and I'm really excited that you are here listening to me, coming into your feed. This week, I hope everyone is doing well. I know we're only halfway through the month of January, so we're still in the early parts of 2026, and it's certainly been interesting to say the least. But I hope that everyone is doing well. I hope that you were able to check out last week's episode, the first episode of 2026, and I shared some very cool things that I am working on here at DATC Media, and I am excited because this week I have some more exciting things that I have been working on that I can share with you guys now. So looking forward to that this week. And I was kind of thinking about what I wanted to do for the episode this week. I'm in the process of putting some episodes together, and I have some conversations on deck that will be coming to you guys soon that I'm really excited about. But this week it was like I said, it's still that interesting part of the new year. I don't know about you, but we're still trying to get ourselves back on track of whatever, our routines are in the new year, in this time of year. And in our house, we have all the birthdays. Well, my kids, at least, their birthdays are in January. So we're still in celebration mode here. When this is dropping on the 13th, it is my daughter Marley's 15th birthday, which is just absolutely wild to even grasp. So, yeah, we're still doing all the celebration things. So I was like, you know what? I think what I want to do is something a little different this week. I don't know how it came to me or how it was sort of like a continuing of, maybe it was social media posts or just kind of like that in conjunction of knowing certain historic dates in music. And I thought, what a very busy, I guess for a lack of a better word, week in music history. So it would be cool to kind of like highlight that in a small way, because I love any sort of interesting music history, and when you have all these interesting things happening on the same date, I love that kind of shit so much. And then I actually found this news story, entertainment news story, that I just have to share with you guys. So I'll share that at the end of the episode. But coming back to the stuff going on here at DATC, if you look in the feed, maybe you listened, you noticed on Thursday the audio replay of my new bi-weekly Tuesday night live stream show over on YouTube called Something On. It was such a blast to do the inaugural episode last week on the 6th. My very special first guest was Jeremy Hoyle, the lead singer of the Strictly Hip. We got into the band's sold out January residency at Babeville. This just amazing venue here in Buffalo. If you listened to that, you got a little history of that, and I'm pretty sure I talked about this place in my episode last week, but it's such a cool spot. And just recently, last Friday, the band did the second night of their residency, which was the Tragically Hip's Road Apples album, which, if you know, you know. And just like Jeremy said in our conversation, that album needs to be played in a sweaty basement, and that's what they most certainly did in Babeville on last Friday night. It was so awesome, and it was just like, oh my God, I love these kinds of rock shows. It was such a really, really good night. So there are 2 more nights in January that they will be doing 2 more albums from the Tragically Hip's catalog, and both of those nights are sold out too, so it's just going to be such a blast. So anyway, we got into all of that and a little bit more in our conversation, so you can find the replay of that on YouTube if the video is your vibe, and then of course it's the episode right before this one in your feed. And the next episode of that is penciled in for January 20th at 7 p.m. So keep an eye on socials for confirmation and a announcement of who will be my guest. And also, if you subscribe over on YouTube to the DATC Media page and turn on your notifications, you'll get alerts about upcoming live videos. So, and also the website, like go to the website, get on the email list. I'm always sending out emails with all the information of all the things. So do that as well. A couple other things happening here. A nice, fun update to the Rough Gauge website. And this is thank you to Taylor O'Connor from Mosey Beat, who you hear at the beginning and end of every episode of Dropped Among This Crowd podcast. Rough Gauge, we have added some sound clips to the website that give an absolutely amazing example of what the blade can do. Taylor knocked it out of the park. There was never a doubt in my mind. I knew that he was going to knock it out of the park. And so I just want to give him a huge, huge shout out and thank you to Taylor for that. I just love working with him and all the guys in Mosey Beat. I mean, they're just all just such amazing dudes. So check them out. I'll link them in the show notes for sure. But they are just the greatest group of guys. And when I wear my Rough Gauge hat, I'm really grateful for Taylor, too. He's been such a loyal customer from the very beginning. So we're so grateful for him, and we're really fortunate to be able to work with him in this capacity. So check that out if you're interested. You can go to the website, and there is the little drop-down menu, and you'll see where you can hear the sound clips. And also, I added to the website a space for our customers to share their feedback. I know that there are a bunch of folks that listen to this show that are Rough Gauge customers. And I know I put this out. I did a post on our social medias, and I did an email send out to the Rough Gauge email list, of course. But in case you missed it and this applies to you, we are definitely looking for customer feedback. As anybody who knows who owns a small business, personal recommendations make a huge difference. And especially for something like us, we're such a niche product in a very niche environment, and so having that personal recommendation from player to player really helps a business like Rough Gauge. And we're just so grateful for our customers, like I just said about Taylor, but I am just as equally as grateful for any of the other amazing customers that we have, that I've had the pleasure of working with, either in the customer service capacity or responding to DMs on social media, or doing the featured artist program and meeting a bunch of awesome people and having them here on the show, and just all the things that have come from that. And so it has just been so cool, really interacting with the Rough Gauge customers. And that's one of the things I really like about this being a small company, is that customer interaction is really important to the entire Rough Gauge team. So we are super fortunate for all of our amazing customers, and we would love to hear what you love about us. So I will throw the link in the show notes, or you can visit the Rough Gauge website, roughgaugellc.com. Like I said, there is the little drop-down menu, and everything is there. And if you have any problems finding anything, y'all know how to find me. Just ask, and I can help you. Also today, Rough Gauge is on TikTok. So if you are over there on that platform, I will admit I'm not on that platform. But I want to see if Rough Gauge being on that platform is going to be beneficial. And so it's admittedly a little bit of a experiment. We'll see what happens here. So if you are over there on TikTok, please give a follow. We'll see how this goes, but I think it could be a lot of fun. All right, so like I said, when I was thinking about this week's episode and what I wanted to bring to y'all, I'm not totally sure what it was that got me to here, but there was just so much that seemed to happen, not only in January anyway in music, but this week specifically. So much, it seemed, that happened in music. A lot of births, deaths, milestones. So I was like, why not talk about that? And there's no doubt that this is only the tip of the iceberg for what seems to be a very active time frame, whatever it is, cosmically. But before we get into that, earlier this week, if you are listening to this when it drops on January 13th, this week, Bob Weir passed away. Everybody at this point, I feel, has to know this, especially if you're listening to this show, which has such roots in the jam band community. But damn, just am. Like, that's really how I feel about it. I mean, I've said on the show, I'm admittedly not a huge Grateful Dead fan. I mean, I certainly am very familiar with their entire catalog. But I mean, the Grateful Dead, they weren't just a group. I mean, they were literally a movement, and this moment in time that was just a roadmap for live music and community and, doing your own thing and, just being a part of something. And you just, for all of that, you cannot deny the impact that their music and culture had on literally everything. And all of the things that I talk about so many times here on the show, and the entire ethos that my entire company is built on, is that ethos of community that really started with that whole movement of the fan base of the Grateful Dead. I mean, there's always been, fans and tribes of music and et cetera, but, especially, like I said, coming from the jam band music scene. I mean, yeah, I've had the pleasure actually of getting to see Bob Weir a few times in my life in a few different versions. I know at Modown one year he was there. Actually, I think 2 years of Modown maybe he was there. I did see Rat Dog. There was some other sort of incarnation. I think it was Dead and Co. I did go and see, they played a thing, I believe it was like in Pennsylvania somewhere, and it was for the Obama election. So that would have been 2008. And so some iteration of Dead and Co. played there. They had an event, and so I saw that. And so there were for a few times that I saw Bob Weir. He definitely sat in with a bunch of the bands that I've seen or followed myself over the years. It's funny because I actually just found my concert box, and inside was this a photo album, just stuffed with old ticket stubs. That whole sentence just feels so dated. But I found this old photo album just stuffed with old ticket stubs from like 2006 to 2010. I mean, I found some stuff in there that was definitely older than that. But it was just so wild. I need to go through that because just even like the preliminary like scroll through it, I was just like, oh my God, I couldn't even believe it. And some of the pictures, oh my. But I know that there are some of those shows that I just mentioned, seeing Bob Weir at, that those ticket stubs would be in there. So that is just wild. And I have so many friends that are huge deadheads, like huge deadheads. So this is such a big thing, big impact for them, that will no doubt continue to be felt. And on the 10-year anniversary of David Bowie's passing, like, come on. And I had to look this up because I know that Phil Lesh passed away in 2024, and then Donna Jean passed away last year. So Mickey Hart and Bill Kreutzmann are the only guys that are the surviving members of the Grateful Dead. So that's pretty wild. I'm just like, damn. So yeah, I mean, that was a big piece of music news for sure. This week. So I was like, let's think about this. We can't just do the the sadness. I mean, there is some pretty notable deaths for this time of these couple of days, but also some very iconic birthdays as well. Some moments in rock history. January 8th, David Bowie released Black Star on his 69th birthday, his final studio album, which is widely considered one of his most creative late career works. And you could say this about so many of his other albums, of course, throughout his catalog, that they are a powerful statement in art rock, but what an exit, right? And interestingly, I didn't know this until I was like putting this episode together. It also became his only U.S. number one. Very interesting. Also on January 8th in 1991, Steve Clark of Def Leppard died. The Beatles' Rubber Soul began its U.S. chart reign, and Queen's A Day at the Races hit number one in the U.K. on this day. And obviously both of those are major creative peaks for rock evolution in their own right. You know, both are equally important to the evolution of rock music, no doubt. Very famous birthdays, January 8th, Elvis Presley and David Bowie. January 9th, Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody starts its long run at number one in the UK, 1976. I mean, that's just such an iconic song. I feel like everybody knows that song, no matter what language you speak. January 9th, 1944, Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin is born. And in 1963, Charlie Watts joined the Rolling Stones. Also, happy birthday to Dave Matthews and Al Schneer, the guitarist from Mo. Those are my two birthdays that I celebrate, my rock star birthdays that I celebrate on January 9th, and I love that they're the same day. So definitely a birthday shout out for both of them. In 1997, on January 9th, David Bowie's 50th birthday concert featured icons like David Grohl, Robert Smith, Lou Reed, and Billy Corgan. I watched a little of that, found some snippets of it. That's all I had the time to watch, and yeah, it seemed like that was a good time. January 10th, 2016, David Bowie died just 2 days after releasing Black Star. I think that he knew. He was just that type of person that I think that he really knew that this was happening. I feel like he understood his assignment, is what I think. Anyway, also on January 10th in 2023, Jeff Beck passed away. Obviously, another musical icon. Birthdays on January 10th, because we have to have, birthdays. Pat Benatar, who at 73 is still killing it. She recently did a bunch of dates with Bryan Adams, and she looks amazing. Her boots and her outfit, her whole thing she's got going on, like, she is still killing it. So, hell yeah. Also born on January 10th, Donald Fagen and Rod Stewart. Some fun rock moments from January 11th. Rock in Rio debuted in 1985, opening with Queen, Iron Maiden, and Whitesnake. The festival grew into one of the biggest rock events in the world. And Nirvana hit number one with Nevermind on this day, obviously marking the commercial breakthrough of grunge and 90s alternative rock. Another day that would change music. Like, think about all of these days. That's what really drew me to look at each of these more closely. I was like, I have to talk about this because I was just fascinated that each of these days, they were such significant days in music. Either, there was music being released, there were events happening, someone died, someone was born. It was just so interesting to me. What is it? What is it cosmically, January 12th, Led Zeppelin released their debut album. I mean, that's obviously a foundational hard rock record that there's no doubt had a help in, shaping the direction of modern rock. Some other albums that historically dropped: Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson, Wanted, The Outlaws in 1976. This was the first country album to sell 1 million copies, and this was definitely a defining moment for the outlaw country movement. Deep Purple's The House of Blue Lights, The Black Crowes' Be Your Side, and Britney Spears' Baby One More Time. If you know, you know. I mean, come on. We gotta give Miss Spears her props for sure. I mean, that is definitely also, an album that made a huge impact in pop music. So yeah, I mean, and that's just to name a few. Like I said, there's going to be so much other stuff I'm sure that we could dig into and find out that was going on during these couple of days. I mean, it's so wild. So as I mentioned at the top of the show, I found this fun little bit of entertainment news that I had to share with you guys, because I would love for you guys to reach out to me, and I would love to get your take on this. So apparently, the former Kiss guitarist Vinnie Vincent made headlines this week with, I guess you could say, provocative release plan for his upcoming album, Judgment Day Guitarmageddon. So apparently, there is a news article that I'm going to read some more specific parts of this to you. But apparently, the singles, he's pricing the singles of this album at a premium price as a condition for releasing the full record. So this whole thing has definitely sparked a debate, apparently, about the value of music and rock art in the modern era of music and how we get our music and things like this. So he says that he refuses to release, quote, the greatest album of all time unless fans pay $200 per song. Per song. Per song. So I'm going to read this to you because this is fantastic. The former guitarist for a legendary rock band is refusing to release what he calls the greatest album of all time unless fans pay $200 per song. Ex-Kiss member Vinnie Vincent announced last month that he would sell his new record, Judgment Day Guitarmageddon, one song at a time. The controversial decision offered fans collector singles as individually signed and numbered CDs, each costing $200 plus shipping, but only once reaching 1,000 pre-sales. The first single, Ride the Serpent, is described as a nearly 8-minute intense guitar power drive featuring Vincent on guitar and bass. Vincent wrote and produced the song. According to Ultimate Classic Rock, his website lists 18 song titles and more, so buying the complete album would cost at least $3,600. He defended the price, arguing that the rollout plan was his best way of fighting against illegal downloads, file sharing, streaming services, and other changes to the music industry over the years that have made it harder for artists to get paid adequately. Rolling Stone reported last month that he insisted each CD single is worth more than most entire albums. It would be the first full-length album from Vinnie Vincent Invasion since 1988. Vincent responded to backlash online, telling fans that he's perfectly fine not releasing the music if not enough people pay his asking price. There's no money in record labels. They're a dead end. Unless I get compensated for my work, the album stays unheard. The praise from a fan base is pointless unless I'm compensated first. I'm a manufacturer. I produce high-end product. I set the price accordingly. It's that simple. There's no argument here. There's no discussion. I've created an elite product for elite taste. So it comes down to this. If the fan support is not there, which it does not appear to be, the record will not be released. Am I fine with that? Absolutely 100%. It will be the greatest album of all time, never to be heard, never to be released. If people want my music and think they're pushing me by not buying it because of the price, it matters not to me. They're the ones who will lose out. Vincent also doubled down on his boasts, comparing Guitarmageddon to legendary albums like Meet the Beatles, Led Zeppelin's 2, Jimi Hendrix' Are You Experienced, Jeff Beck's Truth, and Cream's Wheels of Fire. The only difference is these albums are generation tested and have the benefit of fermentation of time. But as for impact and perfection from the first song to last, Guitarmageddon is a classic, he said. I still, after I read this, obviously, before I put this in my notes and read through it before I was going to read it on here to you guys, and I'm not in disagreement with the fact that, you know, artists do need to be compensated correctly. And if you are listening to this, in some capacity, you are a music nerd, and you know that streaming and all that other stuff, everything else, is artists are not fairly compensated, period. And so no one is denying that fact at all. And it's also hard because it's art and it's so subjective. It's just like someone else pricing a painting. You know, I mean, I think, you know, that being the only way that everyone hears it, I feel that's very gatekeepy. I feel like, you know, art is meant to be created and we are meant to be the conduits for the art to be heard on the planet. Sounds super woo-woo, but, you know, that's what I believe. I believe that these creative endeavors, whether it's music or books or plays or paintings or songs or, you know, whatever it is, you know, I believe that artists are the conduits to which that comes through them so that it can be heard, enjoyed, whatever it is, on earth. And it just feels really gatekeepy to have such a high price tag on there and be so very much like, oh, well, if this doesn't happen, then nobody's going to hear it at all. Because that's not the point, and don't put it out there if you don't have that intention. If you want to, create something for yourself, there's nothing wrong with that by any means, but, don't put it out there like that. And, I don't know, gatekeep the art. I feel like, there's nothing wrong with being compensated adequately for your art, for sure. I run my own business and do all my own things and have to price my art and my time and my things. And so I get it. I understand. But at the same time, that's a lot. 18 songs, which is a big album anyways. I'm curious what the length of time for the songs. They mentioned the one song is 8 minutes, but I'm curious what the length of the other songs on this album is, for sure. But yeah, that's an interesting thing. I would love to hear everybody's take on that. So send me a message on social media or send me an email. Dropped among this crowd pod@gmail.com. And yeah, like I said, I would love to know your take on this. Also, if you are a musician and you're an indie artist and you're doing your thing, and that's the thing too, is, I guess technically he wouldn't be an indie artist. So it's interesting that he's using this as the way to release this. I kind of want to do a little more research here, for sure. This is very interesting to me. I want to see if this album ever sees the light of day. Like, if all these people invest in it, the whole thing gets released and everybody else gets to listen to it for free. Is that the way it works? Because I'm gonna want to know what the big hubbub is about. If this is the greatest album of all time, that's big talk. So I wanna hear this. So we'll see. Stay tuned. But if you're interested in getting into it, Vinnie Vincent, look it up. All right. So that is everything I have for this week. Thanks so much, guys. And let me know if you like this kind of vibe too for content. Like, things are always evolving here, and I'm always looking for new ways to be behind the microphone. And like I said, when I saw that this week had so many things that happened like all in the same day, I'm like, oh my God, this is something. So I don't know, maybe we'll be back with something like this. Like I said, I have some very awesome guests coming up soon. I have some conversations that I need to edit and get ready for release. And I am already booking my calendar. February's open. And then I'm booking into April and then already into the spring. So if you are wanting to get on my calendar as a guest here on the show, I would suggest you grab those dates because they do fill really quick. And also, if you are interested in being a guest on something there is also a calendar for that on the website. And also for my consultation services, if you are needing some advice on a project or you have an album release, you want to work with DATC Media on some PR, all sorts of different things. That calendar is also on my website. And again, those days fill up quick. So if you want to get on my calendar, do it sooner rather than later. And there are links for everything else in the show notes that I mentioned in this episode. Check out the awesome additions to the Rough Gauge website. Follow us on TikTok. Take that something on replay for a spin. And I will see you around these parts next week. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. Please be sure to leave a review of the show. It would mean so much to me, and it helps get this podcast into the ears of even more fellow music fans. If you're not already following the show on social media, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Dropped Among This Crowd Podcast, or check out datcmediacompany.com for more. Thank you again. I'll see you around these parts real soon. Mad love.